time to spill the secrets.
This is Universal Secrets with Tiffany Mack and Kevin Hale.
It is Tuesday night. You know what that means.
It's Universal Secrets with Tiffany Mack and Kevin Hale. Is that the right answer?
That would be you. That would be me on this Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. T-Mac, how are you, babe?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Kevin?
I'm fine. I'm doing good.
Yeah. Do
You
you want to share what happened this weekend?
Yeah, tell me. Well, before we get started,
okay.
Let's talk. We're streaming live on our YouTube, Facebook. People in the chat. Thanks for hanging with us on the Tuesday night as usual. Taking questions, comments, concerns. Yeah. We do have a cool guest, and this guest tonight, there's some little history.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when she started this platform, I think I started the year after.
Mm-hmm.
And but we'll talk about that. Tell me, you did something fun this past weekend.
Oh, we did. We had a very entertaining weekend. We went to be a part of a Bigfoot documentary down in the Red River Gorge with Charlie Raymond and Lindsay Raymond, and we split the weekend. So we spent the time with. We spent the last part of the weekend with this documentary crew, Jason Kinsey and his group. And the beginning of the weekend was spent with the Expedition Bigfoot people. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but Maria and what's his name? What's his face? He's probably
are they on the Travel Discovery or something like that?
Yes.
You rubbing shoulders with the
I did a little bit.
Hollywood.
It was a little dramatic. Like they started doing their own thing and then we had to separate and we did our own thing. But it was fun. Brent got to use his new drone with the crazy 8K cameras and it was fun. It was nice. Didn't see anything, but we did hear some amazing calls that had responses. So whether Bigfoot was listening or not, participating, there was some strange sounds that we heard that were probably not coyotes, probably not barred owls, but we're going to leave it at it's still a mystery. How's that?
Probably large,
hairy, bipedal humanoids
with not so little feet.
Yes, not so little feet. Let's leave it at that. Sounds good, doesn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. So it was entertaining and it was fun. And
well, good.
Charlie Raymond's group is always an entertaining crew, and
remind Charlie, isn't he he heads the Kentucky Bigfoot?
Yes,
right?
Yes. So I'm officially the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization's UFO UAP experiencer.
You can get that whole title. You can get that whole title on your business card.
I'm not sure. I don't really do business cards, Kevin. I mean, I think that we had some 8 years ago, but
it was a joke.
It was not a joke.
No, my business card was a joke. No. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, it was fun, but let's get on to the ghosts. Tonight's gonna be a fun show.
It's back to back because last week, we had some of our ghost investigator friends.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Tony, Cherie, Ron? Make sure I was there. Lourdes, Chris, Audra,
Yeah.
Was it Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence?
Yep.
Yeah.
They've got a
And
long name.
we had, well, that would, yeah, I mentioned their business card too. Would be like, so last week we were on for over 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
It was reminding me of when we were doing Friday night shows.
Yeah.
Back in 2016 on Blog Talk Radio. It was just audio. We'd start at 10 p.m. and we'd be
shut
several
down
glasses
the
of
sound.
alcohol in, and then at 1 a.m. we'd finally say, "Okay, we got to call it a night."
Yes,
that was
yeah,
that was a good show. So we're kind of it's back-to-back weeks with the kind of the ghost investigations, and this one, our guest tonight, Tiffany, has been doing it since, I jokingly said,
since she was in diapers.
Close, elementary.
Yeah.
My dear Watson.
Yeah.
Talk. You do the honors. You're always the one propping.
So, Sophia Temperilli, did I pronounce that correctly?
I think you did. Yeah, you're
really
good.
Okay. She's a 25-year-old paranormal investigator and radio host. She started investigating the unknown at the age of 8 after attending a ghost tour aboard the infamously haunted R.M.S. Queen Mary. She fell in love with the paranormal and has spent many a nights in active haunted houses. And we're going to hear all about her fun experiences starting at such a young age.
Just think at 8 years old, Tiffany, or excuse me, Sophia, you in doing investigations in these haunted places, you've already established how tougher you are than me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I feel like I kind of live by that saying, curiosity killed the cat, but I have to try and figure out where I have to stop the curiosity. I'll read movie plots on Wikipedia while I'm watching the movie because I just have to know. So I think that's like probably part of it is just like, it's just me, like who I am. So, even at 8, that never was a difference. I just, and my parents, they have kind of always had an interest in like creepy stuff. Halloween was always big around my house. Scooby-Doo was like my favorite childhood show. So I feel like it's just always been a part of me. So being a paranormal investigator is probably the most normal thing in my life.
It's strange that you would be an active participant at such a young age in this field. What actually was your motivation? What got you to the point where you were just like, I have to do this, and this is going to be part of my life every day?
So it's kind of like you would think it's just like a downhill roller coaster, but it kind of went in increments. I mean, like I said, I always had an interest in the paranormal. Halloween was always, my family's favorite holiday. But I think I had paranormal experiences from before I can even remember. So I think that probably always stuck with me. I did live in a haunted house. We didn't realize the house was haunted until after we had already joined the field. But it's just one of those things where I think it was just always with me. And my parents, when they were dating in the 90s, they would watch Sightings and the X-Files. And so for their 10-year wedding anniversary, they were like, let's do something different. And we lived super close to the Queen Mary. So my parents were looking at ghost tours there. Yeah. So that was my parents' thing back in the day. And so they were like, let's do something different. So they looked at ghost tours on the Queen Mary, and it was hosted by Peter James, the psychic from Sightings. Nice. And my parents were like, this is what we're going to do. We loved him when we were dating. And let's go do this for our 10-year wedding anniversary. And when they went, I was like, why can't I go? I'm like, why aren't I going? I'm an only child, if that helps. But I just really was like something I want to do. And, you don't really think of ghosts at that age. You see Scooby-Doo and stuff, Halloween Town, but you don't really think about it. But it also wasn't ever odd to me. And so my parents, after their tour, wrote Peter because he always gave out his personal information on every tour and said, hey, our 8-year-old daughter really wants to go on this ghost tour. Is it okay for her? And he wrote back and said, there's over 500 ghosts on the ship. They're all my friends. Have her come and she can call out to Jackie. And that would be Peter's final tour before he passed away.
Mm.
And yeah, I've been in the paranormal ever since. I saw a ghost that night, and it was weird, but also I guess I wasn't really freaked out because I'm still here. And that final tour, Peter had asked my dad to co-author his autobiography, and that kind of really propelled us into the field. My dad spent time editing it and helping clean up Peter's words, and then we were going to paranormal events to share Peter's life story with everyone, and that kind of really just that's where it went from just like a little incline to just absolutely dropped in the deep end, because then you're just going to paranormal event after paranormal event, and you're fully immersed at that point.
It's sort of like my children these days. They have no choice, but they go to Bigfoot conferences and cryptid cons and UFO conferences, and it's partly entertainment, but then again, hey Lindsay, there's my girl. So yeah, it's a lifestyle at some point, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely becomes part of your life, and it's especially when you live in a haunted house, it's your life every single day. And for me, it wasn't a great experience in that haunted house, but after it's just like, well, you have enough trauma, why not just stick with it?
So let's go back to that. Let's
Mhm.
start at the haunted house as a child. Tell us where you were, what it looked like, what time frame the house was built in. Tell us a little bit about it.
So from my understanding, the house was built in 1940s. My dad, he's adopted, but he actually grew up in the house as a child. So from the ages, I think he came home from the adoption agency and went into that home. I'm not entirely sure, but he was there very young. And then he lived there until he was the age of 9 years old. His adoptive father was a paranoid schizophrenic, so he had to move out of the house at the age of 9 for safety reasons. And after my grandfather passed away, my parents moved into the house in 1997. He was not the ghost haunting the home, though. I actually think probably what was ever in the home was kind of pushing his mental illness. Not that he wasn't mentally ill, but I think it possibly was kind of pushing him over the deep end. My grandfather was a very intelligent man, but he also used to guard the Pope in Vatican, Italy. He was a Palatine guard. He was basically the secret service for the Pope. So his whole life was really angels and demons. He's very Catholic. And so I think whatever was in that house kind of preyed upon his weaknesses and his beliefs. So my dad moved out at 9. They moved back in 97. I was born in 99. And we had some experiences looking back between that time period of 97 when my parents moved in, and we discovered the ghost in 2009. So between 97 and 2008, but nothing that really stood out to the point where we're like, yeah, this house is haunted. I mean, looking back, it was like, yeah, maybe we should have known, but it wasn't frequent enough or anything that it raised any red flags. And then when I was about 9 years old, I had been in the paranormal about a year at this point. I was walking into my parents' room one day, and it just felt like the ceiling, the walls, everything was covered with eyes. That's like the best I can describe it. And everything I did in that room, it just felt like I was being watched. So I'm like, okay, weird, but sometimes you just get creeped out over nothing. So that's kind of what I thought. And then one day I went into my parents' bedroom, and I saw a man in my parents' closet. And I knew this wasn't a real person because it was kind of like a Polaroid picture in my head is the best I can describe it. And so I went to my mom and I said, Mom, there's a man in your closet. And she just said, okay. She never told me I was wrong, but she also didn't know what to think because, I mean, you have to remember, my parents had lived there since 1997. It's 2008. Why suddenly would there be a ghost? So my dad didn't believe me at all. He had written a book for a psychic, and he's like, is there any coincidence? You're a little kid and now you think there's a ghost in the house after this. So my parents just kind of went with their individual thoughts on it. My mom not knowing what to think, and my dad totally thinking I was imagining it. And then one day, my mom was putting makeup on in her vanity, and there was 3 knocks from the inside of her closet door. And in that moment, my parents knew there was in fact a ghost. What I saw was real. And yeah, they grabbed a recorder, went and caught an EVP pretty immediately. And it was such a clear EVP. I would definitely say it was class A. And from there, the activity really took off. And from that point on.
Do you remember what was said?
Yes.
What was caught?
So we caught a few EVPs, but that specific day, my cousin was down, who's a girl. My mom, they were both in the vanity area because they had a master bedroom, and then off the side of it was like a whole vanity area, and the closet was off of that. And so there was a light fixture my mom had for a few years, and they didn't know how to mount it. So it was sitting on an ottoman there. And my mom wasn't asking questions, anything. She was just talking to my cousin, and you hear a man's voice say, "I'll help you put these lights up."
Wow.
And yeah, sounds really helpful.
That's very specific, though, too.
Yes, it was very specific, very, very clear. It was a man whispering, saying, "I'll help you put these lights up." Just like that.
And, a very helpful spirit.
He was like a creepy dude.
A handy man spirit.
He sounds like right off the bat super helpful, but he completely stalked any and every woman in the house. No man felt his presence at all. He was completely focused on women, so he was a total creep.
Maybe he was a nice father.
Hetero. He's hetero.
No, he stalked me while I slept, while I changed. He stood over my cousin while she slept, my mother while she slept. Every woman felt uncomfortable.
Okay, but why? Where else would they go? I mean,
anywhere else.
Anywhere else.
You could go in the living room, my dad's office. I mean, it was focused on women.
How do you put up a boundary for your private nudity with a spirit? Is it even possible?
No, because
it's not like you could put a "do not disturb" sign on my.
No, I mean it didn't stop until I moved out, so it's one of those things. But it's just to the point where you don't feel safe in your home. I mean, you have to imagine being 9 years old and watched by a grown man.
Oh,
now,
and really he wasn't. He was in his 20s, from what I saw. So it's a fully grown man.
Yeah. So you didn't feel safe.
I didn't feel safe at all.
Okay,
that's the thing.
Yeah.
And you know, after we realized it was haunted, a lot of my mom's female friends said, "Yeah, your house, when we would like babysit the dogs or something, when we would go on trips, said, yeah, your house creeped us out." But you know, people don't just come up to you and be like, "Hey, your house freaks us out," for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really common for women to come in the home and feel very unnerved. And my dad didn't have these experiences because he literally did not present himself to men.
Right.
Even if he was with you or your mom, never.
No. Men would not feel watched. Women would. And the only time my dad had an experience, so he's like has a long hair. He's like an 80s metal drummer. He stayed because one time, so I was trying to sleep one time on my loft bed, which was really high up, and I finally felt safe up there. I felt, you know, he couldn't see me, and I finally felt safe. And one night I went to sleep, and he had found me on my loft bed. He had climbed my loft bed ladder and was a foot away from me, watching me sleep. And I don't know how I fell asleep that night, but we had psychics coming to our house. Like, I don't know if it was a day or a week later. Honestly, it's all a little blurry at this point.
So just a short period of time later, once you all connected with this and said, we're sort of done. Let's figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Well, we had been in the paranormal, so we had friends and stuff. And so they came out. I hadn't even told my mom about this experience yet. And I said, "Mom, I have something I want to tell you." And she's like, "Not now. You know, we have company over." And because the psychic and his team was actually doing a live stream at our house. So all of this was on camera. All of this experience you can actually look up. And so I pulled her friend aside, who was not in the paranormal, literally just a friend they had done for years. And I told her what happened, and she grabbed my mom. And then she had me tell my mom, like, hey, he climbed my loft bed ladder. So only my mom, myself, and my mom's friend knew at this point. And one of the psychics walked past my room and said, there's a man on that loft bed ladder. And it was last night I slept in that room until we moved out. And my cousin, one time when she was staying at our house, she had fully seen a man standing over us while we were asleep. And she blinked her eyes. He was still there. She remembers every detail of what he looked like. And it took a few seconds for him to actually go away. And yeah, so it had just gotten to be a lot. You know, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't watch YouTube videos. I couldn't go play video games. I couldn't do anything without this person hovering over me at all times.
Is your father now believing there's something here?
Yeah, so he started believing after the knocks in the closet door. Because when you have your mom verifying it and your cousin who also heard it, it's like, okay, well, you can't really deny that at that point. And so my point before that I forgot is, so he has the long hair, and my mom one time said, why don't you go stay on her loft bed? So with his back turned toward the loft bed ladder, you know, he has long hair, he's laying there, and he feels someone behind him. He feels someone watching him. So he reaches his hand over the loft bed, and he said he felt like he stuck it into a bottle of ice water, really a bucket of ice water. And he just started yelling at the ghost. And that was really the first time he had his own personal experience, was really putting himself in the position that I was in.
And how long had you been experiencing this entity?
I don't know at what point that was. Like I said, the timeline's a little fuzzy, but I had dealt with him from when I was 9 years old until I was 11 when we moved out. And
2 full years.
Yeah, so it was a while. And like I said, there was experiences before then that we didn't really realize were experiences. And in fact, our pug, Lucy, she used to go stand in the hallway and bark violently into my parents' bedroom, which is where the ghost primarily was. And when he would come into my bedroom area, I had 2 diamond doves in a cage in my bedroom, and they would bounce off the cages trying to get out. They tried desperately to get away. And it only happened certain times.
It had to have been difficult to see your beloved pets be intimidated and terrified by something that not everybody else would have been able to accept and see.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely hard, you know, watching birds. You can't comfort a bird or tell them it's okay. Lucy didn't seem bothered. She was aggravated. So Lucy was more, she was a pug. She's small, but she absolutely, I say she's like Regina George in a pug's body. So she was more aggravated than anything. So her wasn't too worried about. She didn't care. She was just angry.
But noticing that your birds were like bouncing off of the cage, which is not normal behavior, is also unnerving. Because you can't protect them from something that you can't do anything about.
No, and in those moments too that they would be doing that, my mom could, so if he was like standing in the threshold of my doorway, if my mom went to go hand me a pair of socks while I'm getting ready for school, she would feel her body buzzing, like as if her, you know, foot fell asleep or something. That's what she always said it felt like. So it's so much was happening simultaneously. I'm feeling like I'm being watched. My mom's literally stepping through him, and the birds are bouncing off the cage. So it was multiple things at once that really confirmed what was going on.
Yeah. I've had some experiences where my dogs have noticed a presence while no one else could see besides myself and the animals. And it's sad because you try to protect your youngins to the best of your ability. And unfortunately, a pet can't explain what's going on, whether they're being harassed, but they do show signs of stress, anxiety, and it's really sad to see your pets being abused, because it is an abuse, because they don't know what's actually going on, and they're trying to let us know to the best of their ability. But you know, it's we've had certain certain situations in our house where I've had an experience, whether there was, I don't know what kind of being, but we'll just say a being was in there, and the dogs would go bonkers in that general vicinity of the room that I was seeing them. So you know that they have heightened senses, whether it's they can see in different, I don't know, maybe they can see into a different realm too. I don't really know about dimensions and things, and things coming in and out of our dimension, and things coming in and out of our realm of existence. But I do know that they sense it as much as I do. So what do you think could have been done in that house? Because obviously you moved out of the house, right?
Yes, we did.
Did you all try to do any kind of cleansing of the house or cleansing of yourselves? Did your parents try to do this?
Yes, we did. So, I mean, we had lots of people tell us, set your boundaries, tell the ghost to go away. I'm 9, I'm scared. I'm not going to do that. So I didn't. My dad didn't help. We had a team come out who said they could help us clear our house, which, of course we're going to take them up on that. They came out and saged the house. It didn't work at all. We told them that, and then they said that it did work, and I must have brought it back.
Because of your age and hormonal issues?
They just said that I must have done something to bring it back. It never went away, but they said that it came back because of me, when it never went away once.
Have you investigated anything when it comes to young teenage girls and spiritual beings harassing them? Because I think that is sort of a thing. When you're going through your teenage years, you've got a lot of emotion, you've got a lot of energy, you've got all of this buildup, and you're still young enough to have that connection to the other side that I think that we all have. It's just sort of sad to see that, it didn't really go away while you were there.
Well, I think that it comes down to, a lot of people say that children are more in tune to stuff because they have more of an open mind. And I think that's really kind of what it came down to in my case. Like I'll always say, if a spirit wants you to know what's there, it will. If they don't, you won't. So when you're more open to things happening in the world, you have a broader imagination. And for me, I was already in the paranormal, so I already had an understanding of it. I'm kind of the prime candidate. And since this ghost clearly wanted to pick on people, of course you're going to go with the 9-year-old.
Right.
Because they're the easiest target. And so I think that's just kind of what it is. Because, a lot of people in the field who are psychic say I'm psychic. I don't agree with that. That's just me personally. I would say I'm more of a sensitive. I can pick things up, but I can't tell you what it is or anything. But I think it really just comes down to what you're willing to allow yourself to open up to. Because as an adult, I'm not gonna, even though I'm a ghost hunter or paranormal investigator, whatever, I'm not gonna walk into a location as open as maybe I would be when I'm 8.
True.
And like,
yeah, we have less inhibitions. We're a open, like an empty slate.
Yeah. And like Greg said in the chat, at that age, you don't know better. In middle school, it's slumber parties. I went to one and they were doing Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And that freaked me out because I'm into the paranormal at this point. So I don't know what's going to happen or not. Had one friend come over and go, "Oh, you have a Ouija board? Let's play with it." I'm like, no. So it's just like at that age, you do stupid stuff, whether it's related to the paranormal or not. And so, you're more open to stuff, but you're also more, I don't know, kind of just chaotic. The girls at slumber parties want to do Ouija boards, or, kids and teenagers want to go to that abandoned building. They want that thrill and stuff. And so, maybe you just don't know better and you allow yourself to be open to stuff. And even though I did at a young age, it still doesn't keep me from the spirits that know that I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point in time, you've already established yourself as an investigator, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the fear factor, I mean, is that there for you? I mean, are you reacting like, oh, well, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead.
So, I mean, if I went to the Queen Mary or something, no
Yeah.
fear. I mean, it's not my house, but when you're living it every single day,
That's fair.
it doesn't just become your home anymore or a paranormal investigation. It essentially becomes a prison.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it's like, if you have a ghost watching you, it's like the warden coming by with a baton, tapping your prison cell, and you're just open and you don't have a moment's rest. If you have something hovering over you 24/7, it messes with your psyche at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're 9, having to deal with homework, pressures of school, you come home and you want to feel safe. You want to feel at peace, but you don't. You don't. You're scared to go to sleep. You're scared to watch YouTube. You're scared to go to the back of the house unless a parent's with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's at just a certain point, it's not so much about your fears within the paranormal and more just what kind of hellscape your home has become.
Most 8-9-year-old kids, when they come home from school, they watch cartoons. This one, Tiffany wants to go into Queen Mary.
Yeah, I've been there a lot.
When Scooby-Doo becomes the norm, but it's your like everyday life and you're like always trying to hunt down ghosts, get rid of them. I'm sure it's very exhausting for somebody that's, just trying to get by.
Mm.
Well, I went to Catholic school too. So yeah, I went to Catholic school. The kids my age definitely didn't get it. Understandably, I mean, I've been in the paranormal for over 17 years at this point. I will never expect anyone to understand. I will never try and make anyone believe. Because it's hard to believe unless you go through it yourself. And that's just how it is. It's just one of those things, they say seeing is believing, or how you held up earlier. I want to believe. A lot of people want to believe, but it's the experience that makes them believe. And so, as a kid, the kids in my class didn't get it, which is fine. And then you get to high school, you go to school with some of the same kids, and we took a tour for art class on the Queen Mary. And yeah, they were like, you have to take us around. Like, you take us around. I'm thinking, well, that's a 180.
8 years old doing this. Good Lord.
Yeah, so it was definitely different. But like I said, I mean, I've always had an interest in, I never wanted to be in my own home again. I like to have kind of that duality, there's the paranormal investigator, but also there's just Sophia.
And you need to have a safe
ghost
space
host
for Sophia to go to bed.
Yeah, there's the ghost host, but there's also just Sophia, who's a gamer and loves to watch TV without a ghost hovering. And so it's just one of those things where I love both, but there's always, a line that wants to be drawn, or at least you hope can be, because, can't always know if you walk into a place and it's going to be haunted.
Yeah. So I'm going to assume that you are Italian.
I'm not.
You're not? Your name is very Italian.
Well, like I said, my dad's adopted. So
I forgot. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally cool. I had someone message me like once and go, oh, so you're Italian? I'm like, no. And I had someone else message me recently and go, oh, Italian girls are great. And I'm thinking, I'm not Italian. But no, so he was Italian. He was born in Rome, Italy. So
this is your
my
adopted grandfather.
Yeah, Luigi Temperilli. You can't get more Italian than that.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, he was Italian. So I guess by
Did you ever meet him?
No, he died in 97. I was born in 99.
Okay, so 2 years prior. Well, I guess my question is going to be based on the religious upbringing. Having him be sort of like the patriarch of the family, who was working for the Vatican in such a high capacity, and then coming back to the States and then raising this family and being in this home that was haunted. Did you have any lore? Like, did your father say, hey, my dad, my adopted
Mhm.
father had seen some crazy things and that's what pushed him over the edge? Or do you think that
Mhm.
what do you think that was all about? Because you're
So
saying that he had some kind of breakdown and some dissociative disorder type situation going on. Do you think that he was pushed over the edge by the spiritual involvement?
Um, that's at least my belief. So that actually isn't something my father told me. It's something
Mhm,
I grew to believe later on in life because I do think he was mentally ill. 100%.
mhm,
He was so intelligent. He was so highly intelligent. He's kind of one of those people where the intelligence, I guess, is also crazy. He had a doctorate of economics. He knew how to manage money. So intelligent when he died. He knew how to invest. All of this. Guarded the Pope in Rome.
mhm,
But I think that with his intelligence, it in his belief, it kind of when it turned to mental illness, it was made it easier for him to be preyed upon.
correct. Yes.
And so I think that that's just really one of those things where it's not something I can ever confirm. It's just something
Mhm,
I think. And I knew about him growing up. My dad loved him so much. Even though he was mentally ill, and it wasn't safe for him to be around my father. He wrote letters to my dad every single day,
mhm.
Sweet. Yeah.
telling
So
him
he
how much
still
he
had a
loved him.
love.
He had so much love for my father, and he was really his joy in life. And
Mm,
the saddest part about my grandfather is, um, so he was a paranoid schizophrenic. He became a ward of LA County, but in LA County, they did not take good care of their wards.
mm,
And he died without electricity, without heat, without anything. He died on the floor of what used to be my dad's bedroom. And the coroner, they messed up a bunch of stuff. They said, oh, well, there was alcohol bottles around. He was an alcoholic. And my grandfather didn't drink. There were
mm,
people breaking into the home while he was still living there, and because he was mentally ill, he couldn't do anything.
mm.
So, not knowing who the ghost was, there was a large period of time where people could go in and out, do whatever they wanted, and my grandfather was defenseless. Um, and when it
So the
comes,
ghost, you don't think the ghost that you witnessed growing up was that you don't believe that it was your grandfather. This was just another
no,
being?
yeah,
Okay.
it was
Okay.
something else. It was definitely not my grandfather. And the psychic who came in said that my grandfather was still there, but he would kind of just walk the hallways in a state of confusion
Mhm,
because, and whether or not that was him as an intelligent indi- not individual, but haunting or residual, I'm not sure. I would maybe say more residual. But yeah, he was, I think it was just preyed upon like that. And when it comes to the family, I didn't grow up religious like that or anything. We didn't go to church. My parents just, they grew up Catholic too, and they thought it was great education, so they sent me to Catholic school. And I think over time the opinions on the paranormal changed, and that's really what was different between the kids when I was in Catholic school and then them older in high school. And when it comes to family stuff, um, I know that someone, Greg, I believe in the chat, had asked if it runs in my family. So I'm not Italian. My grandfather was Italian, so I guess I'm super Italian by adoption. But my grandmother is a full-blooded Mexican. My great grandparents were from Chihuahua and Matamoros.
Mm.
And so, if anything, any abilities or anything, it actually would run through that side. I've heard my great grandmother Rosario had some abilities to some extent, and my grandma, she's a little sus. She's a little suspicious. My grandma Josie, she'll be watching this at some point. So, grandma, I've told you this before. I'm gonna tell you again, but I call her a bruja, which means witch
Oh,
in
witch. Yes.
Spanish, because
Yeah.
like she'll say the strangest things, like one time she kept telling my mom, she kept telling her, you look terrible, you look so terrible.
Like
And
drained.
my mom my mom's like, she said it so many times. My mom's like, I'm going to tell her to stop. Like, that's hurting my feelings. She needs to stop doing that. And my mom, it's not funny, but it's funny that my grandma is the way she is. And my mom had shortly afterwards got diagnosed with uterine cancer. My mom, when
Your
my
grandmother knew.
Yeah, when my mom, she was saying this to my mom didn't look any different. She wasn't acting different, nothing. So it was really weird she was saying that. And my mom, she caught it early enough. She got it all removed. But my grandma like says strange stuff like that. She'll be like, oh, that person doesn't look so good. And they look fine. And then they'll have something medically. Or one time
so that's the Mexican culture. There is, brujas are strong, right? You've got some major strength in that line. Whatever it was, you've been given a gift.
Yeah, so it definitely runs through her. And so it's one of those things. Like one time she went by her house and goes, oh, is Sophia's fountain running? And my mom's like, yeah, it's working fine. And she went and there was like no water in it, except it was running. There's just no water really. And so, my grandma just like knows things. And,
I have to admit, I'm not familiar. Say that word again. The which word?
Bruja.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. Well, I got to hashtag that and do all this.
Yeah, so she's that's what I call her. She thinks it's a joke. I'm like half joking with her. But my aunt too, my Nina, which is my godmother. But she's super smart, very analytical, and she would always do this thing that drove me crazy. Like one time she took me to a B&B and it was like so creepy looking. I'm like, is this place haunted? And the guy, she's looking at him like, please don't encourage this. And he said no. I don't think it was, but it was listed on a website for haunted places. So I think my aunt was just gaslighting me at that point. But she'll tell you, there's no ghosts, like all of that. And but also then we'll tell you about a ghost experience she had at a hotel. And in our haunted house, she was like, yeah, I feel like something's buried under the floorboards in your bedroom, talking to my parents. And a psychic had said the same thing. So it definitely runs in the family, even if said family members wouldn't admit it.
Yeah. I for some reason, I really have a connection with you because the women in my family are extremely sensitive and we tend to listen to each other. If we get that, if we get that inkling, we do share it immediately. Yes. There's no filter, right? It comes straight out. Like as soon as you hear it, you don't know where it's coming from, but you go with it. And 99% of the time it's necessary and it's accurate. So I think that you've got a strong lineage when it comes to bruja-ism.
Yeah, so it definitely
You roll your tongue when you said that to me?
Bruja. Well, I studied Spanish for 9 years and I lived in Greece for 4.
I don't speak Spanish. I try my best. I'll say
it was very good. Very good.
Thank you. I took it in high school, middle school, and Chinese was easier for me to take. I don't remember any of it, but I took Chinese when I was like 8.
Yeah, I'm just going to go start learning Mandarin for the shits and giggles of it.
My dad speaks Mandarin, so yeah. So I took it when I was like I took it when I was like 8, and I don't remember like really any of it. I remember like 2 words, which was ma and then ma. One of them's horse and one of them's mom. I don't remember which, and I never would say mom because I'm not gonna call someone's mom a horse.
You're a horse.
So like I'm not gonna do that. So that's like one of the only things are like ni hao. So my grandma didn't teach Spanish though to my mother or anything. They used it as like their secret language because she was one of 10 kids, and so no one knows Spanish. I don't know it because my mom didn't know it because my grandma wanted a secret language. Grandma, when you watch this, we all know.
We all know. Grandma.
We have a few questions.
Well,
bring it up.
There's one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yuffie says, Sophia, do spirits actually have an assigned gender? Because this is where everybody's going these days. Gender, or is it possible those that sense them assign the gender to better understand them? That's a really great question, Yuffie.
So that's a great question. I'm really not sure. I feel like there's so much about the paranormal I won't understand until I'm there myself.
Hmm.
I think the thing is about the ghosts in the house. So I know we were told by the psychics, very good psychics, by the way. I mean, they said stuff about my grandfather that no one knew except for the coroner and my parents.
Hmm.
And they said there was multiple ghosts in the house. Now, when I said I saw the spirit, he had brown shaggy hair, white t-shirt, blue jeans. I couldn't see his ankles. He looked about 20 years of age. So why that's relevant is because, like I was mentioning earlier, my cousin also saw a ghost standing over us. However, there were some similarities and there were also major differences. Now, this ghost was wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans, and I believe she said there was like paint all over his clothes. But this man was middle-aged. So was it the same spirit or was it different? I don't know. Because, a white t-shirt and blue jeans, that's not unique in any way. So it could be a different person or it could be the same person. And if it was the same person, to me, it's a young person, and to her, this was a lot older man. So whether or not he was presenting differently to the two of us, I can't say. And for knowing if a ghost is presenting their gender in a certain way, I don't know, because I still have questions about whether or not that was even the same ghost we were seeing.
So
Because
that's sort of a funny topic to even bring up. So the idea that maybe a spirit would present itself in one way to a child and then another
Mhm.
way to an adult and be the same entity, is that possible?
I mean, so a lot of people think that, and like I said, I don't know for sure, but a lot of people feel that when you pass on, you're able to choose how you present yourself as a ghost. Like if you pass away at 90 years old, but the best time of your life was when you were 30 and married with kids, then maybe you'll show yourself is what the time in your life where you felt the best.
Mm. Mhm.
So I can't say for sure whether or not that's true, but some people do believe that these spirits can show themselves in whatever age they want. And my cousin at the time, yes, she was a fully grown woman, but she's 9 years older than me. So if I was 9, she was 18 to 19 years old
Yeah.
when she saw the ghost. So she was still a teenager at that time too.
Yeah.
Um, so it's one of those things. I can't say for sure if it was the same one or not. And so knowing how they present themselves, whether it's choosing to show themselves one way to one person or another, or picking when they felt the best, it's so hard to say.
Yeah.
Because it's really just trying to gather what you have. And even if we could figure out who the man was haunting the house, it's still not going to tell you if the younger version of him was the same as the older version. Like for instance, actually, and this one was a really interesting experience we had. So I was investigating on the Queen Mary one time, probably when I was like 10, 11 or something. And we were there, my parents, myself, and about 2 to 3 other investigators, I think 3. And we're walking into the engine room from the third, it's like a 3-story convention hall. And we're there and we see this guy rummaging through a box. So, okay, he's like in his 20s or something. It's just like a teenager, young person thing to do, whatever, going through stuff. And so we're walking from the exhibit hall to the engine room. And he starts following us. And we're thinking, okay, again, a young person thing to do. So we get to the engine room, and one of the people in the group is like, oh, look, I'm going to ask this guy why he's following us. They turn around to ask him. He leaves. And mind you, this is an engine room fully made out of metal. You're walking on catwalks. You can hear every step you take.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to go chase him to be like, hey, why are you following us? There was no one there. All of us saw a fully there person, and each of us saw him a little bit differently. I saw him in a
Ooh.
dark navy sweatshirt with like curly brown hair in his 20s, but everyone saw him just slightly differently.
Hmm.
All similar, but all a little bit different. and no one knew where he went. There was nowhere for him he could have hid. There was nowhere he could have gone that we wouldn't have heard him. And now I can't say for certain that this is his spirit because, again, I don't know what happened to him. But it was weird enough that we all questioned it, because how do you all see someone a little bit different when you all think it's a normal human person standing right in front of you?
And did you talk to the person in charge of the Queen Mary when y'all had this experience to ask if this was a common tactic that a certain entity likes to perform, just to go in and
Good
get
question.
some FaceTime with people?
That's a really good question. So the thing about the Queen Mary back in the day is you could definitely walk around very easily.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you weren't supposed to be.
Okay.
So we didn't really ask because we maybe weren't
You were getting
technically
yourself in trouble.
supposed
Oh,
to
you
be
weren't
in-
supposed to be there. Got it.
You technically maybe weren't supposed to be in that area, but you could you weren't breaking anything. You could just push the door open. They didn't lock anything, but technically you probably maybe hypothetically weren't supposed to be there.
Mhm.
Technically, maybe. Is that that's all right?
It depends how you're trying to plead the fifth while also answer a question.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yes.
We'll redact those out of the transcript.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago anyway.
I
I
know,
don't think anybody's gonna really worry.
I got to bring this up while I'm thinking about it, and you can answer this or not. Your grandfather had ties to the Pope.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which means the Vatican.
Yeah.
Didn't recently the Pope come out with something about addressing the paranormal?
Yeah, I believe he did. I started to read it, and then I think I got distracted by something.
Same.
I think it was supposed to be April 16th.
Yeah, I
and
think
I
it
didn't
was-
even look at it.
I didn't either, but
I think
Yeah,
it
I
was
didn't.
something. So I read a little bit quickly, and then I got distracted. I think
Maybe
it was
we're all
something-
supposed to be distracted.
I think it was something about a reclassification of demons or something. And so it was something I believe just about the church's stance on ghosts and demons. But yeah, I do recall that because I saw it and then I clicked on it, but it was on Facebook at the time, so I think I just went back to Facebook.
Now staying there, did he have any? Because my understanding is the Vatican. There's all kinds of secrets down in the
57 miles of books that have not been released. That's crazy.
What's in the Vatican?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I should ask because I'm bringing it up on a lot of interviews, but I don't remember the Pope's name. He was apparently
John
called
something, right?
The Hitler Pope was the one that my grandfather guarded. So apparently
we could look that up.
At least was the reason I was told that he moved out of Italy was because he didn't like the ties to the mob or whatever. And so he was, he was basically a Secret Service, so he was around. I heard, and I don't think the church is going to come get me, but I heard there was a secret bar in there.
It was Pope Pius VII.
Yes, Pope Pius. That's correct.
Okay.
And so I heard there was a secret bar there that people would go into. I believe my grandmother went in there.
Bar is in
out drinking.
Yeah.
And so there was that. My grandfather got my dad to meet. My dad was kissed on the head by the Pope when he was a baby. So
wow.
Yeah, I said, "No, Dad, they were hoping you weren't Damien from The Omen. Didn't work."
You try to rub those numbers off his head.
Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, there was definitely secret stuff there, and I think that's ultimately why my grandfather left. Was he didn't feel comfortable at that point anymore. That's at least what I was told. Because I didn't meet him, so we talk about him, but also my dad was very young. So it's just kind of one of those things. It's as much as we do know of what my dad remembers from Italy, and as much as I remember from what my dad said.
It's there's a lot of sweet stories, and I say sweet as in just loving. I mean, there's that just a great good vibe there. Now let's switch gears, Sophie. You finally dive into the world of podcasting and doing these shows. So when did this come about for you? At what age?
So I started begging my parents at 11, but I started my radio show at 12.
Oh, they
so
made you
one-
wait
Awesome.
1 year.
Well, they made me wait like 6 months. So to be fair for my parents, they tried putting me in. I'm clumsy. I'm really clumsy. So sports probably aren't good for me. But if a ghost scratched me, I would think I did it to myself. Like I'm one of those people. But I had done t-ball, basketball. They benched me because everyone was really competitive and I didn't know what I was doing. So that's how sports went for me. I tried jujitsu one day. So I didn't stick with anything. So after living in a haunted house, I just felt like, there had to be other kids out there with similar experiences. And I just was like, okay, I wanted to see if they were out there. I wanted to find them. I didn't.
You want to find your people.
Yeah, I didn't because I get it. Kids weren't in the paranormal. And I just started asking my parents. And because I didn't stick with anything, they're like, well, I don't know about that. That's kind of a lot. And since my dad had written the book with Peter, Rob Sarek, the site founder, had said, hey, we'd love you to have a radio show. My dad's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to write questions, but guess all of that. And when I was 11, I was like, hey, I want a radio show. My parents are like, no. And I just kept doing that for a while. And it just came to the point where my dad wrote Rob and he was like, hey, I don't want a radio show, but my 12-year-old daughter does. And he said, sure, we'll try it out. And 13 years later,
what year was that? Was it 2011?
Yeah, 2011 is when I started.
In liveparanormal.com. Plug.
Yes.
I plug it because, I'll go down memory lane for me. When I started podcasting, it was 2012-ish. And it was.
And you were 25 then, right, Kevin?
I was younger. 20. I was little, not 11 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I had, and you'll know these people, Sophia, Nikki Paranormal, and Jen Anderson on one night. And they were affiliated with liveparanormal.com at that time. So I was doing my show, Cheesy, Inhale, Exhale with Kevin Hale. How bad is that?
I loved it.
So, but I hit it off with them. And they were like, afterwards, after the show was over, we're talking and they're like, you really should think about, doing something with Live Paranormal. And I was like, So within a few months, Scarefest was in Lexington, Lexington, Kentucky. We're in Louisville, Kentucky. So in Lexington, Scarefest was happening. Live Paranormal, Rob, Nick, all of them, they had a table there. I came and met them. We hit it off. I started doing liveparanormal.com. And I did that for about a year, 18 months or so. Great time, great people. And then I just kind of went and done my own thing. That's when I started actually, Tiffany, shooting from the lip after from that. But anyways, so I got history with them and Rob. There's some really good people over there. So shout out to those guys. Yeah,
I mean, it's been a lot of fun, even though I didn't get to find the people my age with experiences. And I understand that, even if they were having experiences, I don't think a lot of people were going to be looking up the paranormal. I mean, this is still 2011. I mean, Ghost Adventures was on and Ghost Hunters, but still wasn't as widely accepted as it is today. But I, my first guest was Alexandra Holzer, Hans Holzer's daughter. And I just got really lucky, meeting people at the events when I started my radio show. My dad ended up doing what he said he wouldn't, booking guests and writing questions because I was 12.
That's cool.
So yeah, and it's just been one of those things where I just got really fortunate. They knew me from events and they were kind enough to come on my show. I didn't know what I was doing at 12. I thought I did. My first show, I was like, Dad, I don't need you. I got this. Like,
you're telling him this at 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah, I told him this at 12. Mind you, I transferred schools So 6th grade, I went to one school. 7th grade, I transferred to another. And, you know, school start in September. I started my show in June. So we had business cards made and everything. Well, I'm going to a brand new school. My mom's like, yeah, Sophia's a radio host. Here's her card. I'm like, stop. I'm like, no. So I mean, that's how new it was. I mean, I literally was starting a new school year only a couple months into it. But I was just so fortunate enough because, you know, I thought I could do it on my own, but I wasn't good then. Not saying I'm a great host now or anything, by any means. I'm not a professional, but I was like, I would ask people a question, they'd answer and be like, okay, so, and then I'd just go to a next
We
question.
sometimes do that now.
Yeah, it was like there was no dialogue or back and forth because I was 12 and didn't know what I was doing. But hopefully, I like to think I have, but hopefully other people think I've improved over the years. And now it's become easier to interact and you know, talk to guests. So it's really been a journey from being 12 and being like, I got this, and then going on there and just being like, okay, and then just figuring it out later on. So it's just one of those things where I was very lucky that people wanted to talk to a 12-year-old.
It sounds like maybe you had a pretty strong head on your shoulders at even a young age, because it's a very big venture for someone to take. And it's difficult for us as adults to sit there and have a legitimate conversation, back and forth banter, because it's live broadcasts are very difficult for people for the most part, because you just don't want that dead air. And I think that as a child, you had to have been very mature to be able to do an interview with anybody. So I give you a lot of credit for that. That's fantastic. And what a great adventure you've been on. This is fantastic. I love it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I really did grow up around adults. So being around people my age, even to this day, is still more foreign to me. Like, you know, my best friend is in her 30s. She married my cousin. I'm fortunate for her. And yeah, so I mean, like, I'll talk to her on the phone. People will be like, "What do you and her have in common?" Because we're so different. Like, she's a country girl. She loves Pink. I like what I do now, and but we talk about cleaning products and stuff like that. So I've always just been like, I never really fit in with my age range, and so I think that always helped me with my show. And then, like I said, you know, as I got older, I developed the skills to really have a show and understand things. It you know, figuring out how to talk, how to not leave gaps, like you said. Now it's like so ingrained in me. Like, if I'm having a real conversation, I'm like, there's a pause, and you know, you have to like break out of radio mode. And so it's just one of those things where you grow over time. And my voice isn't so squeaky, because that was really painful to listen back to.
For a long time, I couldn't hear my voice at all. I hated it. I hated the sound. Like, I started out with NPR, National Public Radio, right? And the sound of your voice is so freaking dull. NPR is like the worst thing. It's just training for your voice. That's it. There's with me, I had no relationship with it at all. I knew that I didn't want to be on camera, but the radio part of it was so freaking boring, you know, and being able to find your niche, and have this passion behind you with what I say is a gift that you've got. And I think that's amazing that at a young age, most people don't know what they're going to do at 30, you know, and you're like 11 going, Dad, Mom, I want to do this. This is what I want to do. That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Did you take any classes that would help you with your passion?
No, I didn't. The funny thing is, when you were earlier
She did
asking if I was
jujitsu to fight off the.
yeah,
She
I
did
took one day of
jujitsu.
jujitsu. It really helped. That was, I think, the thing that really pushed me over the edge. No, but you were talking about being Italian earlier. I'm not
Uh-huh.
Italian. Like I said, my dad's adopted.
Yeah.
In this past year, I will literally be coming up on 1 year that we got in contact with my dad's paternal birth family. And
Wow.
my other grandma will be listening to this. His birth mom we found about 2 months ago and got in contact with. So
Wow.
shout out to Grandma Aggie. But yeah, the weird thing is, I've always sort of been a performer. Like I've always liked making people laugh and stuff. That's always just what I've been drawn to. And you meet my dad's birth family, and his father is not only a performer, he was in a movie with Elvis for like a short time. He was like around all these people. He has pictures with Loretta Lynn. His best friend is Shirley Jones from the Partridge Family. And
Loretta's
mind
from
you,
here.
yeah, my dad was not raised around these people. So to
Wow.
see the nature versus nurture thing in real time was incredible. I mean, you can have a passion for something, and thank you, by the way. You can have a passion for something, and I've always loved film and television. I remember one time at a Mother's Day brunch, sitting at a hotel and seeing the Dance Moms crew. I never watched Dance Moms, but I was just watching the audio text and everything and being so excited to just see them work.
Mhm.
And my dad went to school for film and broadcasting. So you just think, oh, okay, you got that from your father. But when you meet his birth family and see that it goes even further back than that, it's like, okay, this is just, I don't really have a choice in the matter. It's just genetics at that point.
Like it. That's cool.
Yeah, I like
Very
that
cool.
too.
Now, oh, damn it. I lost my train of thought.
My dad says I have that effect on people.
Well, I want to go back. Are you still on Blog Talk Radio?
Yeah, so it's like Paranormal through Blog Talk Radio.
Because that's what Blog Talk Radio back in the day. I don't know how it is now, but the audio, everything was just, you try to listen to that stuff back when I started. It's just well, Tiffany, we were doing when we first started, we were on Blog Talk Radio.
Yes.
Right? How is that? I got to know the platform. Is it better?
Well,
sorry.
I was like, not really. Yeah. So I mean, like,
don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
Well, Blog Talk's not the one having me on. So yeah, but I mean, when I started my show 13 years ago, I was able to have international guests on. About a year or two into that, could not have international guests on because they got rid of Skype. Still trying to figure that one out.
Okay.
Yes, sorry, someone was asking about the pool area. Yeah, so no, yes, the audio's gotten better, but I think that technically is just technology. I mean,
all right, I was a curveball.
When I started, my first year started, so I started in June of 2011. By October of 2011, my dad had gotten me to do interviews on Shriekfest, which is an independent sci-fi and horror film festival, their red carpet. And when I started, I'm literally holding up a phone to people, talking into a phone.
That's what it was.
By the second year, we had gotten a microphone that plugged into the phone. So, it's just the evolution. I mean, I was doing events at StuCon, and you see me, I'm 5'8" now, but I didn't grow for like a while. So, I'm small middle schooler holding my phone up like this, interviewing people. And so it's really just the evolution of technology too that I think helps with sound, because you go from like interviewing someone on a slide out like Motorola or something to being able to talk into an iPhone. I think makes a little bit of a difference.
A little bit.
Yeah, the technology definitely is better with those these days. So we've got a question here that we need to bring up. Okay. Have you done the overnight ghost watch in the pool area of the Queen Mary?
Yeah, so I've investigated the Queen Mary a lot, specifically the pool area. That was, like I said, my first investigation ever was on the Queen Mary. Peter had me call out to Jackie. And later on, actually my last day of high school, my freshman year, I was very lucky to be asked to be a part of the Queen Mary episode of Ghost Adventures. So I investigated with the guys there. And I can honestly say that is one of the craziest investigations I've ever been on. And there's a reason for that. So ever since I was little, I've seen a man in the pool area, kind of lurking near the dressing rooms, and I call him the Shadow Man. Lots of other people have had experiences with him. But I've seen him since he was younger. He doesn't like me. I don't like him. We have that in common. That's about it. And yeah, so if anyone's been to the pool area in the Queen Mary, there's always low lighting in there. And personally, I don't know how it was ever thought. I understand it has mother of pearl, but it's just creepy in there. I don't know how at any point in time it was ever not creepy.
He's saying a lot of noise.
Probably because of it just echoes off of the hard surfaces.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
If you hear if there's something going on in the grand salon or something, you can hear it through the doors. So yeah, it is very noisy in there. And that night with Ghost Adventures, all the lights were off. It was the very first time and only time I've ever been in the Queen Mary pool area where it's pitch black. And it sounds super weird. It does to me too. But the Shadow Man was stronger in pitch blackness. Normally he just lurks around the dressing room area, but I could, and I know this sounds weird too, I could see him even though it was in pitch blackness in multiple areas.
When you say you could see him, was the darkness more condensed in the shape of him versus the darkness? Like, was it a darker black figure? Well, that was more obvious, or was it a lighter figure compared to the darkness?
When I say I see things, it's a little bit weird. It's not like I'm seeing it with my actual eyes. It's kind of like in my head I see it. Like,
I gotcha.
If you're looking with your eyes, but it's in your head. Yep. So I could just see him. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't really get it either. But I could see him in multiple places by the dressing room area and if you're facing the pool, the upper right hand balcony. And my father and I were doing the investigation with Debbie Constantino and the guys. And yeah, my mom was kind of in the background. She doesn't like to be on camera or anything. So she was just sitting in the stairs off camera. And Zach was on that upper balcony investigating with the X-Connect, I believe. And he got rushed by a ghost. And my mom actually heard footsteps running at him. Now, this didn't make the final cut of the show, but that was where I was seeing him and ultimately where he was getting an activity. And the whole night I wanted to tell them, this is the Shadow Man. I could see him. I could feel him there. And every time I wanted to say it, I felt like I was going to cry, which I've never had before. It was like something was holding me back. And I've never had that experience with a spirit before. But yes, I have investigated the pool area, and that's just a little bit of my experience there.
Have you ever been touched on an adventure that you've had?
Yeah, so one time, actually, I usually forget it even happens, but I was sitting on the stairs in the pool area, and I was sitting like this, just hanging out. You know, you start young, sometimes you just sit on stairs. I was probably, if I had to guess, I was probably about 10, and I felt something touch my elbow. And it was the only time that I've ever had that happen, but you can just tell a difference between something actually touching you and a spirit touching you.
Does it feel more like cobwebs?
Yeah, I mean, that's how some people describe it. I don't, it was so long ago. I guess it's almost like a feather touching you, just almost like this light sensation that you can tell is there. But I was investigating with a friend that night. So we weren't sure if it was Jackie or not, because at that time you have 2 kids investigating. A child spirit probably would want to interact.
Yeah, that would make sense. Totally.
Because I think she said too, she felt something touch her hand. So it's I think that was like the only night something like that happened. So it was, it's hard to say because there are so many ghosts on the ship what it was, but that was the only time I've ever been touched by a spirit. I mean, I did have one thing. I wasn't touched by a spirit, but I was investigating at the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula, California. And they have a lot of movie posters there for some reason. And like I said, I love film. So I was walking down this hallway looking at movie posters. And the further down the hallway I walked, my throat was getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I thought, okay, I don't want to know what happens when I reach the end of this hallway. So I told my mom, and she's like, I'm going to go ask the front desk person. I'm like, please don't do that. Because I'm just trying to be normal at this point in time. Mm-hmm. So she runs to ask the front desk person, who's actually Brandon Alvis, a paranormal investigator. And he said, oh, yeah, the prior maintenance person hung himself 4 years ago on the floor above. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't really being touched by a ghost, but also was kind of feeling his death. So I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, you were getting a feeling that was overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, it was just like, and I didn't know anything about the location, so I literally had no idea prior to that. I was just looking at old movie posters, and then, every step I took, it was just more and more.
The fact that you've done this since you were 8, very young age, how many experiences have you had or investigations have you had where you felt threatened or you're just terrified? There's like a demonic or something really bad at a location.
So I don't know about demonic, just because I don't know. People they suck in real life, so it's hard to know what's just someone who really sucks.
Shout that! Say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah. Some people are really horrible. So just like, I don't know. I can't say.
In this chat, that's not very nice.
Not in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not going to tell people that there's not demons. I will never invalidate someone's experience because I didn't have it. They did. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to say that. But I would say really my haunted house, I don't think it was demonic, but he was really terrible. The shadow man in the pool area, he's really awful. And I did this investigation at a ghost town. I don't think that was demonic either. I think they were really horrible too. So there's this ghost town in Montana that was featured on Ghost Town Terror. And so I actually investigated there, and we were doing an ST session. And yeah, I was the one asking the questions. My co-investigator was under, and it really felt like Clarice Starling talking to Hannibal Lecter. I mean, it was just such creepy responses, and the thing that the spirit said that made me tap my co-investigator out was,
is this while you're using like a EMP sort of?
Yeah, what kind of device?
Yeah, so
what is it? EVP?
Yeah, so he was using the ITC with the sensory deprivation for those who don't know the SC session. Yep, blindfold, headphones. He can't hear anything but the ITC device. So you ask questions, and the person in front of you will say whatever word they hear. And the word that made me tap him out was the ghost just said smile, which was just really creepy and unnerving given the setting. I know that the spirit there was focused on the daughter, did not like her boyfriend. At one point, people normally ask, like, who do you want to talk to in the room? And I thought, well, okay, if he has problems with people, let me see who he does not want in the room. So I said, who do you not want here? And it said the boyfriend's name. And everyone was really surprised by that. And when we had started the ST session, my co-investigator said, okay, if you're ever feeling anything at any point in time, turn the EVP recorder on. And I just thought, well, I don't want to multitask like that. So as soon as he put the blindfold on, I turned the EVP recorder on. And afterwards he said, did you turn it on? I said, yeah, I turned it on as soon as you put the blindfold on. And they caught so many EVPs during that session. And he said, that's a good thing you started it, because it was one of those EVP recorders that you can play back and it cuts out all the dead space.
Yeah.
And they caught so much. And that was just a really intense night, because when I was doing that investigation, we were there for a short amount of time with the family. And so I was there 12 and 13-hour days, just in this little ghost town in Montana. And it's just, that was my second day there at like almost the 12th hour when I'm doing this. So it was just one of those investigations where it was just a lot to take on given the circumstances of it. And the ghosts there, I think, just didn't like people.
Here's a question to throw at you from AJ. Hey, AJ. What would you consider your Claire abilities to be?
So that's a great question. I've been told through the show that I have something more of a clear sentience. Because when it came to the ghost in my house, a lot of people ask, what did he say to you? He never said anything to me. Everything that I knew about him or felt, it was like how I know my name's Sophia. It's just something I've known my whole life. So when I pick up on things, it's more of just like a knowing. And so when it came to that, I just knew he was a bad spirit from the moment I first found him. And it's like that with anything else I've ever encountered. I can kind of do the same thing with people in real life. If I get a bad feeling, usually it does turn out to be correct. Super helpful. Love that. But I would say it's, at least that's what I've been told. It's more of a knowing is what mine is, versus people having clairaudience or anything. I don't hear stuff or anything like that. It's more just a feeling that I have, and then sort of a knowing.
So nobody, no situation, no experience, no investigation you've ever heard like a disembodied voice screaming your name.
Or telling you to get out.
Get out.
See Amityville, right?
No, I have not had that. In the
Okay.
Queen Mary, I will say, and this was not just me, if you go to the engine room, which is like one of my favorite locations, also AJ, you're probably correct. I kind of forget all the terms when it comes to the Claire stuff.
Clairsentience, clairaudience, Claire.
Yeah, there's
like
a lot.
6 of them, right? Claircognizance.
There's
clear
something
knowing.
too with the touching stuff and knowing.
Yes.
It's just it's a lot.
Yeah.
But when you go to the engine room of the Queen Mary, you can actually hear someone audibly talking. You cannot tell what they're saying, but you hear them out loud. And when you're in the propeller box on the Queen Mary, a lot of times you'll actually hear someone whistling. So it's not really even just a me thing. It's an everyone thing. And that's, the propeller box is super creepy. It's weird to be around, but that's just the cool thing about the Queen Mary is when you go there, you don't even have to have an EVP recorder or an Ovulisk or any of these equipments. It's literally, you can just go in and have pure experiences.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So speaking of the type of equipment that you use, what is your go-to equipment? What do you have in your go bag?
So
Samsung.
So yeah, I really do like equipment that I can carry with me pretty easily.
Yeah.
And
luckily things are getting smaller.
Yes, so that's definitely my thing. I just recently, like February, and I haven't had a chance to test it out. Had family out, I got sick. It's just life. But I got an Ovulisk, my first time in my life, so I'm so excited about that. I've been doing this 17 years, so a lot of my equipment was like 17 years old. And so we got to a point where we're like, man, we should really update this stuff. So I recently just got a bunch of new equipment, the Ovulisk. We got a new recorder. I got these candles from ghoststop.com. They're called spirit candles, and
Are they
they
blessed?
No, so they
What are
basically read EMF, kind of like a millimeter. and they're just little candles. They're made of real wax, and they are completely off, no light. And when it goes near them, they turn on, and they make like a little flicker. But they just look cool, and they actually do pick up stuff. I got this little puck too, that will pick up sound, so it doesn't record audio, but what it does is, because actually I saw a deaf paranormal investigator had reviewed the device and said it really helped him because it would allow him to know when something was going on because he couldn't hear. And what the device does, it has a little light, and it will light up based on the sound. So if you're doing an EVP recording and capture something and you're not hearing anything else in the room, but this lights up, you can probably just immediately go check the EVP recorder and know you caught something. So I got that in tandem with the EVP recorder. So right now, those are my equipment. I have millimeters, but like I said, a lot of it's really old. So I'm redoing stuff because after a while, you take a look at stuff and realize you've maybe had it a little longer than you should have.
Well, if it functions for as long as you need it, but yeah.
1 millimeter does, the other does not, and that's when you realize they need replaced.
Yeah, you need to start calling Zach. Hey, Zach, come on.
So
the love. Give me your old equipment.
Yeah, those are my things. I like things that you can easily pick out and grab or give you quick time responses because, you know, like I said, when I was at the Glen Tavern Inn, I was not investigating. I was just walking around being normal. And what I found is a lot of times when you're not investigating, you will capture some of the best stuff. So it's nice to have stuff you can, you know, the X Connect's cool, but you have to set it all up. And so having things that you can just have on the ready are my favorite.
How do you know, one of the things that is so prominent right now with like social media is the people who find it cool to hate on everybody. You know,
talking about the drama.
No, just, you know, you can go on, you know, social media and just we're staying paranormal, no, nothing else. But you know, you got people that have just found their gimmick is to hate or shit on everything that you or anybody would do. And you know, for every acronym in the paranormal field, you know, that's where you say, is it, make sure GFY? Go fuck yourself. I'm trying to make that. Say it right. So I mean, what do you do? Have you experienced that?
So oddly enough, I experienced more of that when I started in the paranormal. You wouldn't think that because I started so young, but it was because I started so young. The paranormal wasn't as widely accepted. And when I joined the paranormal field, a lot of people were giving my parents a lot of hate because they said, you shouldn't allow your child to do this. It's not okay. She shouldn't be going to these things. But I was living in a haunted house. You know, I was having these experiences. You can't stop me from having that, even if I'm not in the paranormal. And I get it. You know, it's also a maturity thing. But I think that goes for any age. You can be 60 years old and not be mature. And so
my kids tell me to grow up every day.
So it comes down to knowing your limits, you know, trying to go about things the safest way possible. Like my parents didn't let me spend the night on Alcatraz. They asked Peter if it was okay to go to Queen Mary. They were taking as many precautions as they could. But a lot of people weren't accepting that. They did not think I should be in the field. When I was 12 and started my radio show, I actually went to an event at the La Prisma Mission. And there were 2 guests there that said, she goes or we go. They said, we are not gonna. Yeah, they said, we are not staying at this event if you have a child here. And the event founder said, you guys can leave. She's staying.
Thank you. So you know, I take my kids to all of these conferences, and it's harmless. You get to communicate with other people, hear stories, see a lot of merch. You buy shirts like your Can you show everybody your
we hadn't even talked
Yeah.
about her shirt.
show us your Mothman? Okay.
Yeah.
So all of that is not, it's not harmful. I mean, if you're in the world, you're experiencing it, you have a passion for it. My gosh, let them enjoy life.
Yeah.
You for the record out there, you know what's killed people more in this world? Religion.
So
Just
Oh,
saying.
we can talk about that in a second.
I'm just saying. My point is that don't you get people knocking the paranormal and stuff like it, and like it's a bad thing. But they go to keep going to. No, I'm sorry.
Well, no, let's get into that for 1 second. So, speaking of you being in that and being in Catholic schools, did you get a lot of flack for that kind of activity with your school system, or did you keep it from them?
No, they knew. I think they just looked at me weird. I don't think they. I mean, like I developed my. I just don't think they cared enough. But like I said, it all of that really happened when I was younger. A lot of the hate, a lot of them, when they saw that I stuck with it, which took a couple of years, they changed their tune. But
Good.
it came down to really, I guess, in their minds, me proving myself to them. And in school, it was similar, like I said, elementary school, they didn't believe in it. They didn't care. They thought it was weird. I get to high school. Suddenly it's, oh my God, we're doing a tour of the Queen Mary. And it's a trivia thing. Sophia, you're with us. And so it's really a difference in thought process. I developed my thoughts and theories on the afterlife in my 8th grade religion class. I asked my teacher, I was like, we were talking about purgatory. And I said, Mr. Albert, do you think that ghosts could be in purgatory? Because he's my teacher, he just like goes, I don't know. But he just like gave me that squinty eye, like, I don't know why you're asking me. I don't know anything about this. So it was more just like silent judgment, but not enough to care. It was more just strange for all of them. And then I went to public high school. And when I got there, I actually had a teacher that had a mutual friend with me through the paranormal. His childhood friend was in a paranormal team, and he couldn't remember their name. And I come back to class on Monday, and he tells me their name, and I go, I just interviewed them this weekend. He goes, I know, I talked to her. So it's the change in things. My biology teacher in high school was super into it. I started a paranormal club. We had the largest amount of people of any club at opening.
That is awesome.
It's really just differences in time and the way the media has shaped things, whether people like the way YouTubers work or not. I completely understand. You want your evidence to be taken seriously. You want people to take you seriously, especially with AI and Photoshop. It's hard, but to a certain extent, at least in my view, and will never tell anyone they're wrong again for their view, but regardless if it is, just for entertainment or a little overdone, the YouTubes and the TikToks and the TV shows, those have made the paranormal to a point where you're not getting hate. Children aren't being hated on in the paranormal, at least not that I'm aware of. But
it's part of pop culture now.
Yeah, I've seen
heavily into pop culture. Now.
You see more young people my age, which there wasn't really when I started. It was mainly people more middle aged. And so to see, it be more accepted, something that people can talk about without feeling ashamed, I think is great. And I understand, wanting the field to be taken seriously, but I think also with it, you have the haters that say this isn't real. And like I said, unless you have experiences, it's hard to believe. But with the YouTubes and everything, it allows the general public to at least have an interest in what you do. And then later down the line, people will take it more seriously, but it's a transitionary time from it being obscure and just this small fragment to, some of the biggest videos in the world, or the biggest movie franchises, all based on the paranormal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Good points. Good point. You were recently this year, Sophia. You were, let's see, personal home haunting accounts were published in the book Women on the Fringe.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Show yourself off. Talk to us.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, I was asked by some incredible authors, Brady Jones, Nicole Strickland, Denise Agnew, to be a part of their book, which is a compilation of different women in the paranormal's stories, how they got started, or their experiences. So I was asked to be a part of it, and I wrote about really just my life growing up in a haunted house, more in depth of how I got started in the paranormal, what my experiences were, what it was like living day to day, and everything. So it's really, showing people what my life has been like up until this point, which I'm only 25. So, I can't fill a whole book, but, it's a portion of the book is on my life story.
Wait a minute. You're only 25, Ken, but you've got 17 years of stuff to talk about.
Yeah. You got plenty.
Yeah. That's cool.
Well, I don't think I'm nearly as interesting. And then people be like, I'll tell people my home haunting, and they'll be like, that's really scary. And I'm like, yeah, it was for me too, but I'm, glad you agree. I don't think of myself that way. My mom's like, you're known for your radio show. And I just, when you're living it, you see yourself a little bit differently than the way everyone sees you.
Are they happy with how this has all turned out for you? Are they proud of allowing you to sort of take your journey?
Oh my God, my parents are amazing. They are the best support system in the world. Like I said, my dad didn't start out believing in my experiences in the haunted house, but he's been with me every single show for 13 years, co-hosting. He mans the switchboard, helps me with questions. He books the guests. He's done everything to make my show possible. It wouldn't be without him. My mom is the one that got my makeup done for today. She's a trained makeup artist. She helps me set up. I mean,
you look beautiful.
Thank you. My straightener started breaking, so
it's gorgeous.
But, yeah, I mean, without my parents, none of this would be possible. They've supported me every step of the way in every way imaginable, taking me to events, supporting me with my weird ideas, being 12 and saying, I'm going to have a radio show, and everything else, wanting to further my life in the paranormal. They are 100% supportive of.
It's awesome. Now, Tiffany, this is we've done lots of shows. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we've had a guest on that clearly said, I had my makeup done before the show. Whether it was mom or not. I'll take it as a compliment. Sure.
Yes. I also want to give a shout out, though, to my grandma Josie, because she is an amazing support system as well. So much of everything. Like I interviewed NSYNC once at a paranormal event. I bought a dress at the event and it was a little long, and she's sewed her whole life. So I took it to her and I said, Grandma, can you fit this better? She had it done the next morning. My grandma has been an amazing support along the way too. Even for being 88 years old, she's never once questioned the paranormal. She's so proud of me. And I just feel very thankful. And my aunt was, when she was alive, even though she didn't believe in the paranormal, when I started my show, she was the one getting business cards for me. And I've just been really lucky to have a family the way I have.
Well, I think it also says a lot about you, Sophia, because for 90-ish minutes, all I've detected is sincerity and just you being a nice, good person. So,
thank you. I appreciate
props
that.
To you, props to the parents, everybody. 90 minutes. Yeah, we're rolling along here.
We do have another question in here
All right, dude.
that I saw. Hold on.
And now I'm going to do rapid fire too to end it. But go ahead.
Okay. So this is more about a comment that we had discussed earlier, but it says, Sophia, do you think the touch of a spirit would feel the same as the touch of an angel, assuming they are in the pantheon of non-human entities?
That's a great question. I'm not really sure because, like I said, I've only been touched once by a ghost on my elbow. But I mean, I feel like if it was an angel, maybe it would feel maybe a bit more close to, I guess, what you would imagine heaven to be like. My aunt passed away last November. Well, November before last, of brain cancer, and I know, I feel that she's not a ghost, and every day, you know, I miss her. I miss her hug, and I feel like if there was an angel, it would feel closer to maybe the hug of a family member, someone you love and care about, because those are what feels the most comforting, is having those family members close and knowing they're there for you. And I think it would probably be more
Good
similar
God,
to
Sophia.
I know, it's going to make me cry too.
It's like, Jesus.
that.
Do you feel that you can reach out and speak to the other side if you have you ever tried to talk to anybody that has passed on?
I haven't. I mean, one of my running jokes is, like I said, my aunt was very analytical. So, you know, after she passed away, like when my grandfather passed away, not my Italian grandfather, my other one, my grandma would always find pennies. She would always find pennies around. And when my aunt was sick, she was in the hospital room, and she lifted up her tray, and there was a penny under her tray, and she felt that it meant my grandfather was around her. And after she passed away, my grandma found another couple pennies again, and my uncle, I think, felt something too. And my mom said, "Why hasn't she come see us?" I said, "Mom, knowing her, she would never give us the satisfaction of confirming anything."
Oh,
she'd be like, "I'm still not going to encourage that." So, I mean, I haven't tried just because I think my aunt would probably be a little too stubborn. If anything, I would think maybe she'd come to me in dreams to let me know she's still there.
Now that's a fantastic thing.
I never dreamed about her when she was alive. Why would I? But since she's passed, I think about her a lot, and she's been in my dreams a few times.
Interesting. That might be the way to contact people, is in their sleep, when you're the most vulnerable, as you said earlier, but easily penetrable.
Yeah. So that, at least for me, I haven't tried with family members, but you know, they've come to us after my grandpa died. You know, everyone was finding pennies, all of the family members. My mom drove his old van, and he had Alzheimer's, so he didn't really bathe or anything because he was too confused to. And so he had this particular scent, and after he passed away, my mom would just smell that so overwhelmingly in the car, and it would go away as soon as it came. And so, you know, we've had family members come to us a few times. I remember, like, my mom would get a phone call from my grandma, and this was on our landline back in the day. And my mom would call her and go, "Did you call?" And she was like, "No."
Ooh.
So, you know, there's things like that. I haven't tried to reach them, but I would say that they've definitely tried to reach us.
Have you ever used a Ouija board? Because I know you had mentioned that there was one in the house, but have you?
No, I have not.
Okay. You have a rational fear of it, or healthy appreciation? What is it?
So like I said, I'm curious about a lot of things, but like one time I thought it would be cool to go investigating urban legends, and a lot of them are really intense. Like one of them I saw was, if you see this particular boat go by, then your family member will die. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I'm like, you know, there's certain things in life I don't want to find out about. I don't want to know. And so the Ouija board kind of falls at that. Like, yeah, we have them around for decoration, but have I ever used one? No. Will I? Probably not.
Yeah. I have a healthy appreciation of boundaries, and I have not used one as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with that is some things are better left unknown.
Well, and the thing is that when you open the door, you may not know what's going to come through and how it's going to impact your life and those around you.
Yeah, it's not like you can probably conjure up a demon and ask it to behave, right?
I don't know. I still can't get my dogs to behave. I think they're demons. They don't listen. I got a Chihuahua. Oh my God, those guys are pretty close. I got 2 Chihuahuas. They're crazy. They're 15.
Is there a reason why you wanted some demonic dogs? I mean,
Chihuahuas were that bad. Ours are actually nice Chihuahuas. They're just crazy. Like one of them got attacked by a hawk recently. He's fine, but after that, we're like, okay, you're not sleeping in the laundry room. You're gonna be in like all the time now. So he sleeps in the kitchen, and yeah, he just whines all night now, and it's like, why do you want to be out there? You got attacked by a hawk. You're crazy.
Jesus.
Oh my goodness.
I have 4 dogs though.
We had no idea how close to ghosthood he was.
Well, my dad said he was dead 5 years ago, so that's a running joke. Like he had to go to the bathroom and couldn't go, and so he's making these horrible sounds. And my dad goes, he's just put him down. He's not going to make it. And so we were just like, well, he's been dead for 5 years.
There you go. There you go. He's
Geo,
the Walking Dead.
Chaos is a beautiful thing. Good call there. All right. Sophie, are you in it? Are you in this for the long haul? Because keep in mind, you're only 25, so you got about 40 years before you retire.
Yeah.
Well, I've got trauma. I've got trauma to last me a lifetime, so why not just stick with it?
Good.
But yeah, I have a lot of ideas of what I would like to do in the paranormal. So hopefully I can make those happen sooner than later. And was recently in Ghosted magazine, so be kind of a letdown if I retired this early.
Yeah, don't do it. Go for it.
Are you going to be like the Beyonce or Swiftie of the paranormal? Yeah.
Yes.
You know, Tiffany, I say this, and I'm saying this to Sophia. I mean, this is a show tonight where I'll make sure I word this right because I don't want to like come across as disrespecting any past guests, but this is just one of the most sincere guests we've had on.
Yeah.
And she's just 25 and she's just been there, done that, and knows what the hell she's doing. Great family support. And geez, so I mean, I hope we get to talk to you lots of times down the road because you're going to have some great stories.
And let's give a little support to her family too. I mean, we appreciate the support that a family is obviously into your experience as possible.
Taken for granted, but it's so important.
It is so important to have those people around you. So I'm glad that you do have that. You know, we as parents try to support our children in every way, shape, and form. But this is a little bit of an odd life that you've chosen.
I've been told once or twice. Yeah.
But
we got your back though.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm very, very impressed with your professionalism and your history at such a young age. It's amazing. So I definitely want to see more of you. I can't wait to see and follow your stuff. And thank you so much for joining us and sharing your stories. We would love to have you back on again to discuss more. So
Sophie, if you're ever on your show, if you're looking for a cool guest to talk some experience and stuff, I don't know how much she can really say. Where am I pointing the right way? This one here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I friended her on Facebook. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to talk with you both again. Yes. And I appreciate you having me on today. It's been amazing getting to talk with you both. And of course, I'll have to have you both on too.
Yes.
Well,
absolutely.
I mean, she's got the good story.
He's the looks.
I'm the eye candy. I'm the eye candy. All right, before we let you go, we do this thing called it's a rapid fire thing. Play along. It's fun, harmless. Rapid fire. First
I'm gonna
concert.
smack you. Here, I'm gonna
Yeah.
smack you.
First
Smack.
concert was Hilary Duff. My last concert was Taylor Swift. But I did go to Iron Maiden, so no one can look at me a little odd.
Well, you said your dad's
Yeah, I went when I
is
was
it
like
rock?
7. My
Is
first
it-
concert was Hilary Duff when I was like 3.
which was this was he on
That was a
Dis- what
Disney character,
Disney?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
She
Lizzie
started
McGuire.
in Disney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Oh, that's
That's-
a good one.
I'm gonna say speak every language in the world because I have chihuahuas and I do not want to know what he's thinking. I don't want to know.
Don't know.
He disturbs me and I can't understand him.
What are you afraid, Tiffany? Sophia, is his dog is male, female, whatever? Is he gonna give you
He's
facts?
obsessed
Are you
with
afraid
my
of the
mother.
truth?
I'll just hear a bunch of declarations of love for my mother, and I don't want to hear it out of my dog. Oh my god, he cries when she walks out the door, and it sounds cute, but if you have to listen to it, it's like, "Rrr, rrr," and I'm like, stop. She just
Maybe
won't stop.
maybe he speaks Spanish and that's your problem.
He speaks some remote language because he doesn't listen.
I had a dog that only spoke Greek, so all of her commands were in Greek. I spoke to her every single day for 19
That's actually
years.
a fact. That's true.
It's a
right?
fact.
Yeah.
And when I brought her back, my mom's like, I don't know how to talk to your dog. I was like, I will teach you how to speak to my dog. But maybe he speaks Spanish. I mean, he is a Chihuahua.
Well,
All right.
he was born in Long Beach, so I think he speaks English. He would probably disagree.
And he was probably it was his history. He still doesn't know what you're saying.
All right, continuing. Invisibility or super strength? Miss
Jiu-jitsu one day.
Yeah.
Invisibility, because sometimes you just want to hide from your family. And I'm not talking about my parents, I'm talking about my cousins when they come to visit.
I've got one.
You got
Do
a
snitches
question?
get stitches?
Say it again.
Do
No.
snitches get stitches?
You'd have to ask my grandfather. He did flee Rome for a reason.
Oh.
A
He
damn
said,
mob.
Hitler, Pope, I'm out.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. Oh my
One
gosh,
place, our
hard.
budget is very limited, so go.
It's so hard to say because I'm like, is it hot during the time period I go? Because I don't want to go without AC. Like, if I'm gonna die. Like, yeah. I mean, like,
She doesn't want to go where there's no AC. Well, that would
Yeah.
be like before. Nowhere before definitely the 1900s, right?
You could go back to the Ice Age. There's a lot of free air conditioning.
yeah, seeing a mammoth would be cool. I was just talking about extinct animals. They're gonna
see.
do mammoths. I'm so excited.
Yes. And the dodo. Bring the dodo
Yes.
back.
I was just looking at pictures of the dodo. I love it. I want
Really?
to see it so bad.
I'm telling. I've listened, or the way you two have interacted this show. There is some weird kind of vibe going on here. I'm being serious. You all are kind of like finishing each other's sentences.
We're
to that
vibing,
point.
man.
Well, when you talk
Yeah.
about,
Vibing.
you already off to the great start with the Mothman.
I know.
There you go,
I
yeah.
love it. Speaking of the Mothman, the
Good.
festival is coming up, and we went last year. I think that it's definitely an adventure if you want to head over to Point Pleasant, West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Beautiful area. If you enjoy like camping, hiking, anything like that, it's absolutely gorgeous. Hopefully this year it'll be a little bit more prepared. The conference itself was a little sketchy, but it was still fun. So I definitely think that if you're even slightly interested in the Mothman as an entity and the history, the phenomenon, it's a cool event.
Yeah,
Definitely
I
one to
would
visit.
definitely go. I have to make it out to the East Coast. I mean, so many of my friends in the paranormal are there, and I haven't met them. I
You
got
need to
so
go to
many
Salem
friends.
too.
I mean, I watch Catfish. I could be talking to 10 of them. I don't know. I'm just kidding. I know my friends in the paranormal. They're great people, but yeah.
Yeah, there's
All right.
plenty of places that you need to be on the East Coast. There's
I
lots
do. I have to
of
invade.
old world hauntings.
I do a great Jersey accent. I'm just ready to assimilate.
Let's do it.
This
do it.
rapid fire is supposed to be rapid. This is turning into a 20-minute segment.
Oh,
All
I'm
right.
sorry. I'll shut up.
It's we're having a good time. Sophia, a pet peeve. What would be one for you?
Oh my god. I hate like overly crowded places. Like if I can't just leave a place soon, it drives me crazy. So I'm not like big on amusement parks because like I feel very trapped. It's like claustrophobic in a wide open space.
Ask permission or beg for forgiveness.
I'm a good Catholic schoolgirl. I ask for permission.
Yeah. All right. Toilet paper, over or under?
Over, of course.
Of course. Duh. Okay, just making sure.
She doesn't have cats either.
No, I don't. I have chihuahuas. A little close.
Yeah. No,
All right.
no, they don't do the same thing. Cats go in and start fucking with your toilet paper the whole
That's what
time.
my dog does to my mom's back.
Oh, cute.
A
See?
little close.
That's so cool. All right, this is it. Where is Sophia's happy place?
Genuinely at home. I am an introvert and a homebody at heart, and I love just spending time with my family. Honestly, like I said, they're great people, and I have my house set up really nice. I got my air conditioning, Xbox, like what food. I don't see what else I could really need.
What's your favorite game?
Oh my gosh, I love Assassin's Creed, Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Uncharted.
Yes,
Yeah, like all of those. Minecraft with my friends is a lot of fun. Oh, Friday the 13th. That one's great. I love
That's a
playing that with
game?
my friends. Yeah, I mean they closed the server,
Cool.
so not for long, but yeah, it
Oh.
is. They have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Evil Dead, yeah, all of that.
Ooh.
I don't know. Greg, I got to give you a shout out. West Virginia is wet and wild and wonderful. And then,
It is.
And then what's this about?
Oh God, really?
I'm not saying, but what is it? I don't know. What is that about?
Greg, stick to your game show podcast idea.
Yeah. Okay. Sophia, tell everyone where they can find you.
So you can learn about my show, Ghost Host Show on Twitter. You can also follow me at Sophia Temperilli, Instagram, Sophia Temperilli, Facebook. You can go to the page, Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli. You can find some archive shows on YouTube, the Ghost Host Sophia Temperilli. You can also listen to my show every Saturday, 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 p.m. GMT. You can listen to it on iTunes Podcasts, Spreaker, Blog Talk Radio, a bunch of other places. Oh, iHeartRadio. Yeah, so every Saturday, and listen to archive shows on all of those places.
So, okay. Greg's thing, it was a pet peeve. Okay. To his defense, that's what it is. All right. All right, Greg. Yeah. Thanks for
clarifying that.
Okay. This is just how we roll on this show. Sophia, great stuff. Thank you so much for hanging with us. I like her. I mean, just wish you the best, and hopefully you'll come back and hang with us. And again, if you want to continue this conversation and talk about experiences with ETs, I don't want to kind of go down that rabbit hole too much, but our girl right here.
Absolutely. And thank you guys again so much for having me. Thank you everyone in the chat, by the way. You guys were all so kind and wonderful. And yeah, thank you. Good
stuff. Thank you so much. And props to your family. I mean, we've said it. Tiffany gave a shout out, but yeah, that support, that's fucking amazing.
It is. And that's something that we've sort of raised our children in that environment as well. And pushing them and not shutting them down has been my goal as a mother of an experiencer, I don't want my children to feel I want them to feel validated in their experiences. And so I am really, really proud to see that your parents have pushed you and like supported you in that, in because it helps in your growth, you know, as
Yeah.
that sensitive individual. And you're just an amazing person. So thank you so
I
much for
appreciate
joining
that.
us.
Of
I mean,
course,
yeah.
thank you.
25, but more than half her life has been in this field.
I
And
know, I love it.
that's kind of cool.
It is.
Very
It's
cool.
amazing.
All right, Tiffany, usually we let the guests go and then we do a little rant after the guests leave. But
Apparently
we're at 2
done
hours.
for the
Yeah, I think we're done for the night. So, Tiffany, take us home for the night. Again, Sophia, thanks so much. We got to do it again. Peace
Thank
and
you, of
love
course.
to you and yours. Tiffany.
Thank you guys for joining us for Universal Secrets. We will see you next week. Definitely check everybody out. Check out Sophia's page. And we'll see you next Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Take care. This has been Universal Secrets.